Hello everyone, I am Kim with Abundant Life Tarot, and I am coming back with another video, just having a little card discussion. And one of my viewers asked a question in one of the comments to another video that I did recently on card readings, and like I used some oracle cards to demonstrate how I read the cards, or just one of the ways that I read the cards, and how I just kind of move through a reading, so to speak. And she asked a great question. She said that she was new to card reading, and she wanted to know if I read in a linear fashion or if it was more of a random thing. And I, had to tell her the simple answer is no. And not all the time. Sometimes I might read in a linear fashion, and sometimes I might be intuitively called to randomly pick a particular card to go with first with the discussion. And that's where that experience comes in to play as you start to move into your card reading journey. So, it's not so easy and cut and dry for me to say, yes, I always read in a linear fashion. For some tarot readers, they do read in a linear fashion. That's how they read. And so I don't think there's a right or wrong way. For me, sometimes what may happen is if I'm using a spread, not all the time I'm using a spread, but sometimes I am. If I use a spread, and then I've gone through the spread and I've answered, all the questions that arose through, or that the querent asked for that spread, I will then randomly kind of go through and pick through and see what other card meanings are popping up through the reading randomly after I've first gone through the cards in, I guess, a linear fashion. There are other times if I'm doing a 3-card spread and the querent has, this is my question, I want to know about boom, boom, boom. Well, then we might read the cards that way. And then again, I like to do that. Okay, we've gone through it linearly. Now I want to go through it randomly. So it's whatever my intuition calls for is how I move through the reading. And so I thought that was such a great question, and I wanted to pose it to other readers, new and seasoned. How do you read? Do you even think about it? Is it even something that crossed your mind? And I was like, oh, I think I do recall when I was new, that always did kind of come up for me, where I was like, well, how do you know? How do you know when it's time to read it linearly, and how do you know when it's not? And the only thing I can simply say is that I think it comes with practice, and then it comes with you maybe doing a little bit more of a structured situation where maybe you're not necessarily using spreads, but you are relying on that good question that your client, your querent, your friend, your whoever is submitting the questions to you, and you're letting that be the guide. And then you look for a moment, you pause. Never feel pressure, by the way, to just start rattling off the messages. It's okay to just pause. Even if you're in a high pressure situation, you want to be able to see what intuitively hits first. Because even gut reactions on, ooh, I know I was supposed to read this randomly, but all of a sudden I'm called to read it in a linear fashion, or the opposite. Ooh, I was going to do a spread here, but I'm really called to just kind of go with the flow. Those things come up, and those you'll sometimes think, oh no, that must be wrong. That can't be right. No, I was following what the book says, the guidebook, or so and so says you read like this, and you have to read it like that, and you have to do a Celtic spread, and you got to do this, you got to do that. No, that's where that intuition comes in, where it's like, boom, let me take a moment. What direction am I going with this? Am I going with my tried and true method? And another thing about that, of your tried and true method, it does help to have a method. It does have, because what I mean by that is I have this thing that I laugh to myself, which is I am consistently inconsistent, meaning I set off the intention when I'm shuffling the cards each time. And with Spirit, we know this. But Spirit knows this about me. I set off the intention that I'm going to start this reading with looking at these particular questions and, whatever cards come up. So I might do that for that particular reading. But there may be times where I need to get a little more specific, and I might have to actually ask specific questions, and I have to kind of follow along to keep the reading moving the way it needs to. So it really is going to be individual for me, because remember, my method is I'm consistently inconsistent. Each reading is going to call for something a little different, but I usually tend to have my go-to, which is I tend to have questions. So my querent will say, this is the area I want to focus on. These are the questions that I have for the reading. And then I structure them in a way that I know that we'll get the most bang for our buck in the tarot readings. Because, sometimes querents will ask yes and no type of questions, and you can ask those in the tarot reading. But if they booked a hour-long reading and they ask you like a yes or no, well, you want to be able to flesh out a reading much longer than what can come up in a yes or no answer, right? And you want it to be based on cards, not just, some people do the whole, okay, here's 3 cards and now I'm going to spend the rest of the hour just going off on my intuitive flow. I like to have a more, concrete, since I'm a tarot card reader, I like to have a more concrete anchoring of why I'm telling you the messages I'm telling you. So when the tarot card comes up, 4 of Cups, there's so many intuitive ways you can go, but I know this card could typically mean demotivation, disenchantment, discontentment, just dissatisfaction, not really, the grass is greener, not able to really see the blessings that are before us right here, and starting to move into that stagnant energy of really can't see the glass half full situation. So I know that, but then, you might have a reader who goes completely off to the left or right or whatever direction they go, and it's not even that. I want my clients, when they get a reading from me, to say, yeah, she's a tarot reader. She knows the tarot card meanings. She referenced cards, but not every tarot reader, that's not their style, and that's okay too. But that's just how I roll. That's how I operate. So, I just feel like every reading might be different. If I'm doing hotline calls, for example, there's really only enough time for 3 cards, really. Sometimes there's only enough time for 1 to 3 cards. So I have to, rely on this card or a few cards, to kind of to flesh out what the reading is about. But that's why it's so important that, yes, you want to know especially if you're doing tarot card readings, you want to know your card meanings, because that's your backbone and structure to your reading. But your intuition is more than just, I see that job interview that you did last week producing a call back next week. Okay, that's wonderful. And I love when those insights come through. But the intuition is more than just doing just that kind of stuff in the reading. It's also giving you clues on how you're going to move the reading along. How you're going to do it, how you're going to close the reading even. Do you maybe need a clarifying card? Your intuition tells you those things. Ooh, maybe you're done. Maybe just that one card. Or maybe you're like, ooh, I want to give you a closing message. Spirit, if the intuition's telling me I need something to share with you from this deck over here. And they're always grateful for that. Those little intuitive hits, they speak to not just the predictive stuff that's happening in the reading about the reading itself. It's also all the other little components. And that's, to me, what makes tarot reading so much fun. I love, for me, those little random bits that, yeah, I'm doing the same thing over and over again, reading the cards for my clients, sure. But what makes it different, what makes it exciting for me, is what comes up individually and intuitively for each of those readings, for each of those moments. So I hope I didn't confuse you all. I hope this makes sense, where I'm just simply saying this. Tarot readings, and when you're reading for clients and you're reading for people, it really is more than just the book meanings, and it really is more than just the intuition, and it really is more than just the spread, and it's all those things, and the questions, and your feelings and your intuition. And that's why they say you want to be in a good, cool kind of space with yourself, feeling good about yourself, feeling healthy and solid, because your body and is telling you. I literally get goosebumps. Like, when my intuition is pinging off of something, it's not just like, oh, I get a gut reaction. I do. I literally, as a part of my gift, my empathic gift, I get goosebumps that start all the way from my calves and travels all the way up and goes up my spine to the top. Now, not all the time, but it usually just travels. It's going to travel somewhere, and that's how it's telling my body. It's telling me. It's signaling to me. This is what you know, girl. Yes. And you can't go wrong. So you're only going to get there through doing reading after reading, getting more comfortable with yourself. It's like riding that bike and getting kind of used to riding the bike in your way, and how you move, how you pedal and how you go. And then after a while, just like with anything, you can hop on pretty much any kind of bicycle. Yeah, I mean, some might be more challenging than others to kind of maneuver and kind of get it, but you get it, right? And you keep going. And each time you kind of intuitively move and know and how to go. And then to the point, you're one of those people who are on the bicycles. You see them, and they're riding with their hands off the handlebars, and they're just kind of floating around. They know their bike, they pedaling along and just flowing with it, or they know when to lean in. They know, it's just that beautiful song and dance of it. I mean, you can think of so many different analogies, right? So linear versus random, for me personally, it's consistently inconsistent. It is sometimes just simply throwing out the spread out of the window when I look at the cars. I'm like, oh, no, we got to really talk about this car for a moment. This is it. We got to talk about this one. And then we're going to talk about everything else and how it ties together. Or sometimes I'm in a linear mood, because I maybe had too much at the Thanksgiving meal the night before, and I promised a client I was going to do a Friday after Thanksgiving reading, and now I'm just like, ooh, my brain and my intuition and all that can only stand a linear story. It can only do that today. That's okay. So we go with that. So that's it, folks. That was all I wanted to chat with you all about. I didn't want a super long video. I like these little discussions to be quick, where we can all just chime in as we feel called to. So definitely comment below on your style. Do you read in a more linear fashion? Or are you more random, more intuitive, more like by the book? And there's no right or wrong. Remember that, folks. There's no right or wrong to this. This is just our own style. And then also, your style will change over time. For me, clearly it changes all the time randomly, right? But I like that. That's who I am, and that's what I like. All right, guys. That's it. That's all. Please don't forget to like the video. That really helps the channel. It helps me out. And also, if you haven't already done so, subscribe so you can stay abreast of all that I got coming down the pike for you. All right, take good care, folks. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.